Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship moved quietly through space, far from Earth and the safety of human space. This was the outer rim, where few ships traveled, and danger could come from anywhere. The Defiance was not like other human ships. It was new, built with technology that humans had only recently learned to use. The ship was smaller than most warships, but faster and smarter. Jake had commanded it for 6 months now, and he still felt proud every time he walked onto the bridge. "Captain, we're getting a signal," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. Amy was the ship's tactical officer, a young woman who was very good at her job. She had short black hair and quick eyes that missed nothing. Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of signal?" Amy frowned at her screen. "It's a distress call, sir, coming from the Kepler system, but it's breaking up badly." "Put it through," Jake ordered. The bridge speakers crackled with static. Then a man's voice came through, full of fear and panic. "This is Colony Base 7, on Kepler 442b. We are under attack by unknown ships. They came out of nowhere. Huge ships, bigger than anything we've ever seen. They're demanding we surrender immediately. We need help. Please, if anyone can hear this." The signal cut off completely. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Kepler 442b was a mining colony with 5,000 people. Families lived there, including children. If they were in trouble, someone had to help them. "Amy, try to contact the colony again," he said. Amy worked at her controls for several minutes. Finally, she shook her head. "Nothing, sir. The signal is completely dead." Commander Pete Sullivan spoke up from the engineering station. Pete was a big man with gray hair and hands that were always dirty from working on the ship's engines. "Captain, that colony is 3 days away at best speed. Whatever happened there might be over by the time we arrive." Jake nodded, but his mind was already made up. "Contact Admiral Carter at command. Tell her what we heard." It took 20 minutes for the signal to reach Earth and for Admiral Carter to respond. When her face appeared on the screen, Jake could see the worry in her eyes. Lisa Carter was a tough woman who had commanded ships for 30 years. If she was worried, the situation was bad. "Captain Morrison," she said, "we've lost all contact with Kepler 442b. Long-range sensors show multiple large objects in that system. Unknown origin." "Orders, Admiral?" Jake asked. "You're the only ship in that sector, Jake. I know it's not fair to ask this of you and your crew, but those colonists need help. Take the Defiance to Kepler and find out what's happening. If you can help, do it. If you can't..." She paused. "Use your best judgment." The screen went dark. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was small but good. Besides Amy and Pete, there was Dr. Sam Parker, the ship's doctor, and about 200 other men and women who trusted him to make the right choices. "Amy, set course for the Kepler system. Maximum speed," Jake ordered. "Yes, sir," Amy replied, her fingers dancing over her controls. Pete called out from his station. "Captain, if we push the engines hard, we can get there in 2 days instead of 3. "Do it," Jake said. As the Defiance jumped into hyperspace, Jake sat in his captain's chair and thought about what they might find. The ship shook slightly as it traveled faster than light, heading toward an unknown danger. Dr. Sam Parker came onto the bridge. Sam was a thin man with kind eyes, who cared deeply about people. He had heard about the distress call and wanted to know what was happening. "Captain, how many people are we talking about?" Sam asked. 5,000 colonists, Jake replied. Sam's face went pale. "That's a lot of families." "Yes, it is." Amy looked up from her station. "Sir, I've been thinking about that distress call. The man said the attacking ships were huge, bigger than anything they'd ever seen. That could mean they're dealing with alien technology." Jake had been thinking the same thing. Humans had met a few alien races, but most contact had been peaceful. The idea of hostile aliens attacking a human colony was frightening. "What do we know about our weapons compared to unknown alien technology?" Jake asked Pete. Pete scratched his beard. "The Defiance has the newest human weapons and shields, but if we're talking about a race that's been traveling space longer than us, they might have better technology. How much better? Jake wanted to know. Could be a lot better, Captain. We just don't know. The next 2 days passed slowly. The crew prepared for anything. Amy ran combat drills. Pete checked and double-checked all the ship's systems. Sam made sure the medical bay was ready for wounded people. Jake spent time studying everything they knew about the Kepler system. It was a simple setup. 1 star, several planets, and the mining colony on the 4th planet. The colonists mined rare metals that were needed for building ships and space stations. On the 2nd day, Amy called out, "Captain, we're approaching the Kepler system. Dropping out of hyperspace in 5 minutes." Jake stood up. "All stations battle ready. Amy, I want long-range sensors active the moment we drop out of hyperspace." "Yes, sir." The ship shuddered as it dropped back into normal space. Immediately, alarms started ringing. Amy's voice was tight with shock. "Captain, I'm reading 47 ships in this system. All of them are surrounding the colony planet. And, sir..." She paused. "These ships are massive. Each one is at least 3 times bigger than the Defiance." Jake felt his blood run cold. 47 ships. His 1 ship against 47 alien vessels. "Can you tell if the colony is still there?" he asked. Amy worked her controls. "Yes, sir. I'm reading life signs on the planet. The colonists are still alive." That was something, at least. But now, Jake faced an impossible choice. He could turn around and go back to Earth for help, but by the time he returned with more ships, the colonists would probably be dead or taken prisoner, or he could stay and try to help. 1 human ship against an entire alien fleet. Jake looked at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his decision. These were good people who trusted him. He had no right to throw their lives away in a hopeless fight. But he also had no right to abandon 5,000 innocent people. "Amy," he said quietly, "take us in closer. I want to see what we're dealing with." "Yes, sir." As the Defiance moved deeper into the Kepler system, Jake Morrison prepared to face the greatest challenge of his life. The alien ships were unlike anything Jake had ever seen. They were long and curved, looking more like living creatures than machines. Their hulls were dark gray with strange patterns that seemed to move and shift in the light. Each ship was enormous, making the Defiance look like a small boat next to giant whales. "Captain, I'm getting a signal from the largest ship," Amy reported. "They want to talk." Jake straightened in his chair. "Put it through." The main screen filled with the image of an alien being. It had a long face with 4 eyes and skin that looked like metal. When it spoke, its voice was deep and cold. "I am Fleet Commander Zarthek of the Hegemony," the alien said. "You are in territory that now belongs to us. Your small ship is no threat to our fleet, but you may still be useful." Jake stood up. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Defiance. You're attacking innocent people. Leave this system immediately." Zarthek made a sound that might have been laughter. "Humans. We have heard of your species. You are young and weak. You build small ships and think you can challenge the galaxy." "We're not challenging anyone," Jake replied. "We're protecting our people." "Your people belong to the hegemony now," Zarthek said. "All intelligent species must serve the greater good. You have one choice, human captain. Surrender your ship and join us or be destroyed." Jake looked at his crew. Amy had her hand on her weapons controls. Pete was ready at his engineering station. Dr. Parker had come onto the bridge and was standing, quietly near the back. They were all waiting for his answer. "Commander Zarthek," Jake said, "here's my answer. Not today." Jake made a cutting motion across his throat. Amy immediately cut the communication. "Well," Pete said, "that went well." Amy was already working at her station. "Captain, 6 ships are breaking off from the main fleet. They're heading straight for us." "How long until they reach us?" Jake asked. 8 minutes at their current speed." Jake sat back down in his captain's chair. His mind was racing. 6 ships against 1 was still impossible odds, but it was better than 47 against 1. "Amy, what do we know about these ships?" "Any Obvious weak points? Amy studied her sensors. They're heavily armored, but the armor seems to be mainly on the front and sides. The rear sections look less protected. And their weapons? Energy beams very powerful, but they have to turn their whole ship to aim them. Not very flexible. Jake smiled for the first time since entering the system. Pete, how's our experimental jump drive working? Pete grinned. Like a dream, Captain. We can micro-jump anywhere within the system in about 3 seconds. Perfect. Amy, prepare Pattern Delta. We're going to show these aliens how humans fight. Pattern Delta was a combat plan they had practiced but never used in real battle. It used the ship's ability to make very short hyperspace jumps to appear behind enemy ships. Pattern Delta ready, sir, Amy reported. The 6 alien ships were getting closer. On the screen, Jake could see them clearly now. They moved in a straight line, confident and sure of their victory. Now, Jake ordered. The Defiance disappeared in a flash of light and reappeared directly behind the last alien ship in the line. Amy fired all weapons at once, hitting the alien ship's unprotected rear section. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Before the other alien ships could react, the Defiance jumped again, appearing behind the second ship. Again, Amy fired. Another explosion. This is amazing, Amy shouted. They can't turn fast enough to hit us. The remaining 4 alien ships tried to spread out, but the Defiance was too quick. Jump, fire, jump, fire. 2 more alien ships died in explosions of light and metal. The last 2 ships finally managed to turn and fire their weapons, but the Defiance was already gone, jumping to a new position. Amy hit one of them in the side, damaging it badly. The ship began to drift, unable to control its movement. The final alien ship turned and ran back toward the main fleet as fast as it could go. 5 ships down, 1 damaged, 1 running away, Amy reported. Not bad for our first alien battle. Pete was laughing at his station. Did you see how confused they looked? They had no idea what we were doing. But Jake wasn't celebrating yet. Amy, what's the main fleet doing? Amy checked her sensors. They're not moving, they're just sitting there around the colony planet. Dr. Parker spoke up. Maybe they're shocked. They probably weren't expecting to lose ships to 1 human vessel. Jake nodded. Or they're planning something. Amy, any communications from the alien commander? Nothing yet, sir. They waited for 10 minutes. Then the communication system came, alive again. Commander Zarthek appeared on the screen, and he looked very different from before. His 4 eyes were narrow with anger, and his metal-like skin had turned darker. Captain Morrison, Zarthek said, his voice full of rage. You have destroyed 5 of my ships. This is unexpected. There's more where that came from, Jake replied. I have commanded fleets for 40 years, Zarthek continued. I have conquered 17 different species. I have never seen tactics like yours. Humans are full of surprises. Zarthek leaned forward on the screen. You fight without honor. You strike from behind like cowards. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. We fight to protect innocent people. If you don't like our tactics, you can leave this system. No, Zarthek said. Now you have made this personal. I will not be defeated by a single human ship. My entire fleet will hunt you down and destroy you. Good luck with that, Jake said, and cut the communication again. Amy was looking worried. Captain, if they all come after us at once. I know, Jake said. But we bought some time and we learned something important. What's that? Pete asked. They're not used to fighting enemies who can move the way we can. Their ships are powerful but slow. Their tactics are straightforward. They expect enemies to line up and fight ship to ship. Dr. Parker nodded. Like most alien races they've conquered probably did. Exactly. But humans don't fight fair. We fight smart. Amy was monitoring the alien fleet. Captain, they're moving. All ships are heading in our direction. Jake looked at the main screen. 41 alien ships were coming toward them like a dark cloud of death. Even with their advantages, he wasn't sure they could survive against so many enemies. How long until they reach us? He asked. 20 minutes, Amy replied. Pete, I need everything you can give me. Power, speed, weapons, shields, everything. You got it, Captain. Amy, start thinking about ways to use the asteroid field near the fourth planet. If we're going to survive this, we need to be creative. Already working on it, sir. Jake sat back in his chair and watched the alien fleet approach. They had won the first battle, but the real fight was just beginning. 41 ships against 1. The odds were still impossible, but they had surprised the aliens once. Maybe they could do it again. Dr. Parker, Jake said, you might want to get your medical bay ready. This could get rough. Already done, Captain. Jake smiled. His crew was ready. The ship was ready. Now they would find out if human determination and creativity could overcome impossible odds. On the screen, the alien fleet grew larger and larger as it approached. Soon, the real battle would begin. The 5 remaining alien ships moved into a circle around the Defiance. Jake could see them on the main screen, their weapons glowing as they prepared to fire. Commander Zarthek wanted to make sure the human ship had no chance of escape. Shields, down to 20%, Pete called out as another energy blast hit them. Captain, I need more time to overload the core safely. How much time? Jake asked. At least 5 more minutes. Amy shook her head. We don't have 5 minutes. Look at this. She put the tactical display on the main screen. The 5 alien ships were positioning themselves at equal distances around the Defiance. In less than 2 minutes, they would all fire at once, creating a sphere of energy that would destroy the human ship completely. They're not taking any chances this time, Dr. Parker observed. Jake stared at the display, his mind racing. There had to be a way out of this. There was always a way out. Humans didn't give up. Then Amy spoke up. Captain, I have an idea, but it's crazy. All our ideas have been crazy, Jake replied. What is it? What if we don't try to destroy all 5 ships? What if we just disable them? How? Amy's fingers flew over her controls. I've been studying the virus that Dr. Parker created. It works by overloading computer systems with too much information. What if we could do the same thing with energy? Dr. Parker leaned forward. You mean overload their power systems instead of destroying them? Exactly. If we detonate our quantum core at just the right moment, we might be able to create an energy wave that shuts down their ships without destroying them. Pete looked up from his work. That might actually work, but the timing would have to be perfect. Too early and the wave won't reach them. Too late and we'll be dead. Jake made his decision. Amy, calculate the exact timing. Pete, can you modify the core overload to create an energy pulse instead of an explosion? I think so, Pete said. But Captain, this has never been tried before. We're making up the science as we go. Then we better get it right the first time. The alien ships were almost in position now. Through the communications channel, they could hear Commander Zarthek giving final orders to his remaining ships. All vessels, prepare to fire on my command. Maximum power. I want nothing left of the human ship. Amy was working frantically at her station. Captain, I've got the timing calculated. We need to trigger the pulse in exactly 90 seconds. Pete, how's the core modification coming? Jake asked. Almost done. But Captain, there's something you need to know. If this doesn't work perfectly, the feedback could destroy our ship anyway. Jake nodded. Understood. Sam, any last-minute improvements to make this work better? Dr. Parker was thinking hard. Actually, yes. If we eject our medical nanites at the same time as the energy pulse, they might help carry the overload effect to the alien ships. Think of them as tiny carriers for the energy wave. Do it, Jake ordered. The alien ships were in perfect position now. 5 massive vessels surrounding 1 small human ship. On any other day, it would have been the end of the story. 60 seconds, Amy announced. Pete's hands moved quickly over his controls. Core modification complete. Nanite ejection system ready. Jake opened a communication channel to Commander Zarthek. Commander, last chance to leave this system peacefully. Zarthek's face appeared on the screen, twisted with anger. You are finished, human. My ships will fire in 30 seconds. There is nowhere for you to run. Who says we're running? Jake replied. 30 seconds to core overload, Amy called out. Jake looked around his bridge one more time. His crew was calm and focused, even though they all knew they might die in the next few seconds. These were the bravest people he had ever known. 20 seconds. Pete's hands were steady on his controls. Energy pulse ready, Captain. 15 seconds. Amy had her finger on the nanite ejection button. Nanites ready. 10 seconds. Dr. Parker stood quietly near the back of the bridge, watching his friends prepare for what might be their final act. 5 seconds. Jake took a deep breath. All stations, execute on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark. 3 things happened at exactly the same moment. Pete triggered the quantum core overload. Amy ejected billions of medical nanites into space, and all 5 alien ships fired their weapons at the Defiance. For a split second, the space around the human ship was filled with more energy than had ever existed in one place before. The alien weapons, the quantum pulse, and the nanites all mixed together in a reaction that no one had ever seen. The Defiance shook so hard that everyone was thrown to the floor. Sparks flew from control panels. The lights went out completely. Then, suddenly everything was quiet. Jake pulled himself up from the floor and looked around. His crew was getting back to their stations, checking for injuries. Amazingly, everyone seemed to be alive. Report, he called out. Amy checked her sensors. Captain, our ship is badly damaged but functional. Life support is working. Engines are offline, but Pete is already working on them. What about the alien ships? Amy smiled. All 5 ships are dead in space, sir. No power, no weapons, no engines. The energy pulse worked perfectly. Pete was laughing as he worked on the engine repairs. I can't believe that actually worked. We just invented a new type of weapon. Dr. Parker was checking everyone for injuries. A few bumps and bruises, but everyone's fine. We're very lucky. Jake opened a communication channel to the alien ships. It took a few minutes, but finally Commander Zarthek appeared on the screen. He looked shocked and defeated. How? Was all he said. Human engineering, Jake replied. Commander, your fleet is disabled. Your invasion of this system has failed. I suggest you leave while you still can. Zarthek was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. The anger was gone, replaced by something that sounded like respect. Captain Morrison, in 40 years of commanding fleets, I have never been defeated by a single ship. Your species is dangerous. Only when we need to be, Jake said. The hegemony will remember this day. We will remember that humans cannot be easily conquered. The communication ended. Over the next hour, the disabled alien ships slowly got their emergency systems working and limped away from the Kepler system. Commander Zarthek's flagship was the last to leave. As it disappeared into hyperspace, Amy reported that all the virus-infected ships were also beginning to leave the system. It's over, she said. We won. Pete got the engines working again, and they flew to the colony planet. The colonists were safe and very grateful to see the Defiance arrive. But Jake knew this victory was bigger than just saving one colony. News of the battle would spread throughout the galaxy. Other species that had suffered under hegemony rule would hear that the aliens could be defeated. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. As the Defiance prepared to return to Earth, Jake sat in his captain's chair and thought about the future. This was just the beginning of humanity's journey to the stars. And if today had proven anything, it was that humans would never give up, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. The asteroid field around Kepler 442b was huge, filled with rocks ranging from the size of cars to the size of buildings. Jake guided the Defiance deep into the field, using the large asteroids as cover from the approaching alien fleet. This is perfect, Amy said, studying her tactical display. We can hide behind the big rocks and hit them when they're not expecting it. Pete was working hard at his engineering station. Captain, I've been thinking about our jump drive. We can do more than just move around quickly. What do you mean? Jake asked. Well, what if we use it to move asteroids? We could jump a big rock right into the middle of their fleet. Jake's eyes lit up. Can we do that? I think so. We'd need to attach our jump field to the asteroid, but it should work. Do it, Jake ordered. The alien fleet was entering the asteroid field now, moving slowly and carefully. Their ships were too big to move quickly through the floating rocks. Amy had been studying the alien ships more closely. Captain, I figured out something important. Their weapons are very powerful, but they take a long time to charge between shots, maybe 30 seconds. That's a big weakness, Jake said. If we can keep moving, they can't hit us. Dr. Parker came onto the bridge carrying a tablet computer. Captain, I've been thinking about their ships. If they're biomechanical like they appear, they might have other weaknesses. Such as? Well, biological systems can get sick. What if we could introduce a computer virus into their systems? I've been working with our medical nanites. I think I can modify them to attack computer systems instead of germs. Jake stared at him. Sam, that's brilliant. How long would it take? Give me an hour and I'll have something ready. You've got 30 minutes, Jake said. The first alien ships were getting close now. Amy launched the first asteroid attack, using the jump drive to send a building-sized rock directly into the path of the lead enemy ship. The alien vessel tried to turn away but was too slow. The asteroid hit it hard, crushing the front section and sending the ship spinning out of control. Direct hit! Amy shouted. One ship down! But the other aliens were learning. They spread out more, making it harder to hit them with asteroids, and they were getting closer to the Defiance. Amy, take us deeper into the field, Jake ordered. The Defiance wove between the floating rocks like a dancer, always staying just ahead of the alien weapons. When enemy ships got too close, Amy would use the jump drive to appear somewhere else in the field. Pete had attached jump field generators to several large asteroids. Every few minutes he would send another rock flying into the alien fleet. Some missed, but others hit their targets, damaging or destroying enemy ships. This is working, Pete said, but we're using a lot of power. The jump drive can't keep this up forever. Jake knew Pete was right. They needed to end this battle before their ship ran out of energy. Commander Zarthek's voice came over the communications again. Captain Morrison, you fight like insects, hiding among rocks and striking from shadows. Face us in open battle if you have any courage. Sorry, Commander, Jake replied, but we prefer to win. 3 more alien ships had been destroyed by asteroid attacks, and 2 others were badly damaged, but there were still over 30 enemy vessels in the field, and they were getting smarter about avoiding the flying rocks. Dr. Parker rushed onto the bridge with a small device in his hand. Captain, the virus is ready, but I need to get close to one of their ships to inject it into their computer systems. How close? Jake asked. Very close. We'd need to touch their hull. Amy looked up from her station. Captain, that's suicide. If we get that close, they'll blow us apart. Not if they think we're already dead, Jake said slowly. A new plan was forming in his mind. What are you thinking? Pete asked. We fake our own destruction. Make them think they've won. Then when they're not paying attention, we attack. Amy smiled. I like it. How do we fake being destroyed? Pete was already working on the idea. I can eject part of our outer hull and create an explosion. It'll look like we've been hit by their weapons. And while they're celebrating, Jake continued, we drift close to one of their ships and Sam injects his virus. Dr. Parker nodded. Once the virus spreads through their fleet's computer network, it should disable most of their systems. Do it, Jake ordered. Pete worked quickly to prepare the fake explosion. Amy positioned the ship behind a large asteroid where the aliens couldn't see them clearly. Then Pete ejected several hull pieces and created a bright explosion that looked exactly like a ship being destroyed. The Defiance went completely dark and drifted silently among the asteroid debris. On the alien communications channel, they could hear Zarthek giving orders. The human ship is destroyed. All vessels, begin collecting the debris. I want to study their technology. It's working, Amy whispered. They think we're dead. Several alien ships moved closer to where the fake explosion had occurred. One large vessel came very close to the drifting Defiance, searching for wreckage. That's our target, Jake said quietly. Sam, get ready. Dr. Parker was standing by the airlock with his virus device. The plan was risky. He would have to go outside the ship and attach the device to the alien hull. The alien ship came closer and closer. Finally, it was almost touching the Defiance. "Now," Jake whispered. Sam opened the airlock and carefully moved to the alien ship's hull. He attached his device and quickly returned to the Defiance. "Virus is uploaded," he reported. They waited. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then suddenly, lights began going out on the alien ship nearest to them. "It's working," Amy said excitedly. The virus spread from ship to ship through their communication network. Within 10 minutes, most of the alien fleet was floating helplessly in space. Their computer systems shut down, but not all of them. Commander Zarthek's flagship and 4 other ships had been isolated from the network and were still functioning. 5 ships left, Amy reported, and they're angry. Zarthek's voice filled the bridge, full of rage. "You deceived us. You have no honor." Jake turned the ship's power back on and appeared on the alien commander's screen. "Commander, this is war. We do whatever it takes to protect our people." "Then you will die with honor," Zarthek screamed. The 5 remaining alien ships began firing everything they had at the Defiance. Amy used the jump drive to dodge their attacks, but the ship was getting hit more and more often. "Shields down to 60%, Pete reported. Jake knew they couldn't keep dodging forever. They needed a new plan. "Amy, how much power do we have left in the jump drive?" "Enough for maybe 10 more jumps," she replied. "Pete, what would happen if we overloaded the quantum core that powers the jump drive?" Pete's face went pale. "Captain, that would create a massive explosion. It would destroy us and everything within several thousand kilometers." Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he smiled. "What if we didn't stick around for the explosion?" Amy caught on first. "You want to overload the core and then jump away before it explodes?" "Exactly. We create our own weapon of mass destruction." Dr. Parker looked worried. "Jake, that's never been tried before. We don't know if it would work." "Do we have any better ideas?" Jake asked. The ship shook as another alien weapon hit their shields. "Shields down to 40%, Pete announced. "Make the decision, Captain," Amy said. "I trust you." Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. These people had followed him into an impossible battle and never complained. They deserved better than to die in some forgotten star system, but they also deserved to complete their mission and save the colonists. "Do it, Pete. Overload the quantum core." "Yes, sir." As Pete began the dangerous process of overloading their ship's most powerful system, the remaining alien ships closed in for the final attack. The fate of the battle and 5,000 innocent colonists hung in the balance. The mining colony on Kepler 442b was a simple place with basic buildings and equipment for digging rare metals from the ground. When the Defiance landed at the colony's small spaceport, hundreds of colonists came out to meet them. Jake stepped off his ship and was immediately surrounded by grateful people. Men, women, and children who had thought they were going to die or be taken as slaves by the aliens. Now they were free, and they knew exactly who to thank. Captain Morrison said, "The colony leader, a woman named Helen Wright, we owe you our lives. When those alien ships appeared, we thought it was over for us." Jake shook her hand. "We were just doing our job, ma'am. Protecting human colonies is what we're here for." A little girl tugged on Jake's uniform. When he looked down, she smiled and handed him a drawing she had made. It showed a small ship fighting big alien ships among the stars. "Thank you for saving us," she said. Jake knelt down to her level. "What's your name?" "Lucy." "Well, Lucy, your picture is the best reward I could ask for." Dr. Parker was busy helping the colony's medical team treat people who had been injured during the alien attack. Most of the wounds were minor, but everyone had been scared and needed reassurance that they were truly safe. Amy and Pete were working with the colony's engineers to repair damage that the aliens had caused to the mining equipment. The colonists needed to get back to work as soon as possible. After 3 days of helping the colony, the Defiance received new orders from Earth. Admiral Carter wanted them to return home immediately. News of the battle had already reached Earth through emergency communication channels, and everyone wanted to hear the full story. The trip back to Earth took 4 days. During that time, Jake wrote a detailed report about everything that had happened. He made sure to mention how brave and creative his crew had been. Without Amy's tactical skills, Pete's engineering genius, and Dr. Parker's innovative thinking, they never would have survived. When they arrived at Earth, they found a huge crowd waiting for them at the space station. News reporters, military officials, and thousands of ordinary people who wanted to see the crew that had defeated an entire alien fleet. Admiral Carter was the first person to greet Jake when he stepped off his ship. "Captain Morrison," she said, shaking his hand firmly, "you and your crew have made history today. What you did at Kepler was impossible, but you did it anyway. We had good people and a good ship, Admiral, and maybe a little luck." Admiral Carter smiled. "I think it was more than luck. The President wants to meet you and your crew tomorrow. The whole world is calling you heroes." The next few weeks were a blur of meetings, interviews, and ceremonies. Jake, Amy, Pete, and Dr. Parker found themselves famous throughout human space. Their story was told on every news channel and in every newspaper, but the most important meetings were the ones with other alien species. Within days of the battle, ambassadors from a dozen different races contacted Earth. They had all suffered under hegemony rule at some point, and they wanted to know more about the humans who had defeated the aliens. One of these ambassadors was a being called Keth from a species called the Valdari. The Valdari had been conquered by the hegemony 50 years earlier and forced to serve as slaves. "Captain Morrison," Keth said during their meeting, "your victory has given hope to many species throughout the galaxy. The hegemony seemed impossible to defeat, but you proved that they can be beaten." "We got lucky," Jake replied. "If they had been more prepared for our tactics, things might have gone very differently." "Perhaps. But luck favors those who are brave enough to try. Many species have simply accepted hegemony rule because fighting seemed hopeless. Other alien ambassadors brought similar messages. The news of humanity's victory was spreading throughout the galaxy, inspiring resistance movements on conquered worlds. Admiral Carter called Jake to her office 1 month after the battle. "Jake, I have some news for you. The President has decided to promote you to Commodore. You'll be in command of humanity's first deep space exploration fleet." Jake was surprised. "Admiral, I'm honored, but I'm not sure I'm ready for that kind of responsibility." "Jake, you faced down an entire alien fleet with one ship and won. I think you can handle exploring the galaxy." Admiral Carter activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Dozens of star systems were marked in different colors. "These are systems where we've received signals from species that want to make contact with humanity. They've heard about the battle at Kepler, and they want to meet the people who defeated the hegemony." Jake studied the display. "That's a lot of systems." "Yes, it is. And each one represents a potential ally against the hegemony, or a potential source of new technology and knowledge. The galaxy is a big place, Jake, and humanity is just getting started exploring it. The Defiance was taken to the largest shipyard in human space for a complete rebuild. New weapons, better shields, improved engines, and upgraded systems. When the work was finished, she was twice as powerful as before but still had the same innovative spirit that had won the battle at Kepler. Amy, Pete, and Dr. Parker all received promotions as well. They would continue to serve together on the Defiance as humanity's premier exploration and contact team. 6 months after the battle, Commodore Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Defiance, preparing to leave Earth for humanity's first official deep space exploration mission. His crew was larger now, 300 people instead of 200, but the core team remained the same. Sorry, Commodore," Amy said with a smile. "Our first destination is the Altair system. The Giovanni people there have requested a meeting." "How long to get there?" Jake asked. 2 weeks at cruising speed." Pete called out from his station. "All systems ready, Commodore. The new engines are working perfectly." Dr. Parker had been promoted to Chief Medical Officer for the entire exploration fleet. Medical bay fully stocked and ready for whatever we might encounter out there. Jake sat in his captain's chair and looked at the main screen. Earth hung in space before them, beautiful and blue and home to over 10 billion people who were counting on them to represent humanity well in the galaxy. Amy, take us out. Let's go meet our new neighbors. As the Defiance left Earth's solar system, Jake thought about everything that had led to this moment. A simple distress call from a mining colony had changed the course of human history. One battle had announced to the galaxy that humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was full of wonders and dangers that humans had never imagined. There would be new allies to meet, new enemies to face, and new challenges that would test human courage and creativity. In his personal log that night, Dr. Parker wrote, "Today we begin humanity's greatest adventure. We're no longer just the people from Earth. We're the people who refused to surrender when the odds were impossible. We're the people who faced an entire alien fleet and won. That's something the galaxy will never forget." The Defiance traveled through hyperspace toward the Altair system, carrying humanity's hopes and dreams to the stars. Behind them, Earth continued to spin peacefully in space, safe under the protection of people who had proven that no challenge was too great for human determination. In the depths of space, other species watched and waited to see what these remarkable humans would do next. The hegemony nursed their wounds and planned their revenge. And somewhere in the galaxy, new adventures waited for the crew of the Defiance. The age of human space exploration had truly begun. And after what they had accomplished at Kepler, the rest of the galaxy knew that humanity would never be easy to stop. Jake Morrison had started as the captain of a single ship on a routine patrol. Now he was a Commodore leading humanity into a future full of infinite possibilities. It was a future that humans would face the same way they had faced the hegemony fleet, with courage, creativity, and an absolute refusal to give up. The stars were waiting, and humanity was ready for whatever came next.